you never, ever stop learning until you're in a box, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
So joining me on the line today, we've got Rod Stelling from Tradies Finance. Is that the right name, Rod?
Tradies Finance, mate.
Tradies Finance, fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a bit of an intro and tell everyone a bit about yourself?
Okay, so Tradies Finance is a business. We specialise in looking after tradies, obviously, but also the self-employed. Anything that's a bit outside the box, that's our bread and butter.
Yeah.
But we just want to look after, people that are working hard and, doing the right thing by their family.
Fair enough. So tell me, obviously the economic climate is pretty interesting right now. What are you doing as a business owner yourself to navigate the current economic climate?
I suppose for me, I went through the GFC and I did a lot of things wrong. I'd only been in business a few years then.
Yeah.
And I sort of went into a bit of hibernation. This time around, I'm coming out swinging. I've got some radio advertising, some Facebook advertising, and we're probably as busy now as we have been.
Right.
And we can really add value to people now. So it's while some of the conversations are hard to have because it's a pretty emotional time for a lot of people, and
Yeah.
we can't help everyone,
Mm-hmm.
but we just being able to make a difference to people, and sometimes just not even if we can't even get them money, but we might be able to just give them direction on how they should be doing things and stuff like that. So while it's testing on the emotions, it's also exciting and good to be able to help people.
Yeah, so I suppose for you, this time around, you've seen it as the opportunity to sort of be there for people as opposed to battening down the hatches and waiting till everything goes away.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
fantastic.
a lot of people have relied on banks and stuff for that, but they're not there to help people. They're there to help their shareholders. So for us, even if we might help someone now and they become our client in a year's time, so be it. And they might not ever become our client, and it's just our way of giving back, I suppose.
I heard an interesting stat about the banks and the percentage of approvals for these loans for the 250K. You probably know this number, right? I got touted at 12% approval rate on the loans that are coming out.
Well, that's interesting because in all the forums that we're part of, I'm still yet to find anyone that's got a client that has received one from any of the majors. There's
Right.
alternatives to the majors which we have access to.
Right.
And I think as a product, they're a good product. The only problem is if it's just money for money's sake without a plan at the back end of it, then that's the problem. And the banks don't have that. All they're doing is selling money. So sometimes it's a matter of getting the money now because there's some ways to do it and some good things, and this money can be advantageous. But you don't want to just get this loan to get you through and then find that you're going to fall over on the other side. Because if that's all you're doing, then you're better off not getting the money now. You're better off looking at alternatives. And sometimes my job is to say that you shouldn't have money. Right. Or why don't we look at this instead?
So tell me about opportunities. What opportunities do you see in the marketplace right now?
For people that, and there's a lot of people that either haven't been, materially affected by COVID in a business sense. Obviously, everyone has personally, but in a business sense, there's people that are busier. There's people that haven't seen much of a change in income, but they have in the way they're doing things, but in income. Now's the time to take advantage because I think what's going to happen is we're going to find property prices will drop. Now, at the moment, the supply and demand is sort of holding property prices, but when Scott stops putting his hand in his pocket and, then we start to see what businesses are really going to still be around and what people are really going to be affected. And when the banks say, well, guess what, now you got to start paying your mortgage again, that's when I think we'll see the drop. Right. And people who can cash up now, so maybe access equity while their property's at its maximum that it's going to be for a while. put it there, sit it in a side account, whatever
Yeah.
you do with it, and then there'll be opportunity on the other end. And also from a business sense, it might not be buying real estate,
Yeah.
but there might be businesses that people can buy. And if you've
Yeah.
got that
Absolutely.
cash to be able to do that, why not? And I know there's some people there saying, but I'm really busy. I haven't got time to worry about it. I'll worry about it when COVID stops. That could miss the opportunity.
Yeah, so it's a very small window, isn't it? That
Oh, yeah.
people are seeing this. I know some people in the trades are seeing this, and they're saying September is going to be a very interesting month.
Yep.
And they're busy right now, and exactly that's great advice. Just stacking the cash away because that's when the bargains will be there.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell me about personally, what sort of lessons are you taking out of this current environment? So what are you getting from it?
Family and friends.
Wow.
I'm seeing some changes, business-wise, obviously, with technology and stuff, which we'd already sort of taken on. So it's
Yeah.
not a massive change for us, but it is certainly more of a take-up from customers in the
Yeah.
technology.
Mm-hmm.
But from a personal side of things, not being able to, like my mum, for example, she's just hanging out to give us all a cuddle,
Yeah.
which is just a really simple thing. But when you can't do it, you start to realize that maybe our values might have got a bit distorted. And
Interesting, huh?
yeah, and I think out the back of this, well, I hope some of the positives out the back of this will be that people will see family and friends and things that are really important to them,
Mm.
and maybe the things that just became important but really weren't.
Yeah.
Hopefully we see some real positives out of this, and unfortunately there's going to be some people that are just, their lives will never be the same again.
Mm.
But I think on the other hand, there'll be some really positive things for businesses that
Yeah.
have evolved. And tradies are tradies at the end of the day. People who work with their hands, there's not going to be a lot of structural change to the way they do business, but the way they interact with clients,
Yeah.
opportunities that become available to them that they might not have ever thought were there,
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's where I think there's going to be differences.
Awesome. So, just on another note, the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
Okay, best.
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. I think I'll go back to my grandfather. He passed away when I was 16, but
Yeah.
the one thing that he taught me, and I've done it from day one in business, is you never, ever stop learning until you're in a box, and don't be afraid to ask questions. So in my business, I haven't tried to say that I know everything. I've been prepared to take on advice from people, whether it be coaches, business coaches, whether it be mentors, whether it be people that are just in business that aren't in my business, and taking on, being prepared to admit that you don't know,
Yeah.
and being prepared to say, if I don't know, especially in finance, I mean, to say, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll find you the answer. And
Yeah.
and being straight up with people and honest. You
Yeah.
don't have to know everything. People actually start to question if you do.
Yeah.
So, but if you're prepared to just say, well, look, I don't know the answer, but I'll find out, and be honest.
Awesome.
That's the biggest thing.
Great. Favorite book?
Favorite book, probably The Magic Thinking Big. It's a
Okay. Tell
book
me
that
why.
I've read that when I was about, would have been 22, I think.
Yeah.
And I was in probably the worst time of my life from a job. I'd sort of moved from one job, gone into
Mm.
what was a pretty dead end job for a while, and I just got stuck in it.
Yeah.
And I read that book, and it basically said, you've got to get off your butt. You've got to make your own changes,
Mm.
and don't, actually aim big. And
Yeah.
so I've sort of done things before I should, maybe
Yeah.
taken some risks that
Yeah.
so my wife didn't like, but some of them didn't work as well as you would like. But there's some stuff that I thought was sort of dead years ago that
Yeah.
now actually are very clear to me, and are opportunities right now in my business
Yeah.
from things that I tried and was prepared to learn from.
Awesome. Awesome. So just to wrap this whole thing up, the number one piece of advice you'd give to a business owner right now?
Look forward, not back.
Right.
Think about what you can do for your business going forward, and assume that things are going to get better, because they will, and try and make plans on that basis, and don't just think about the here and now. Do stuff for the here and now to get by, but
Yeah.
do it with a plan.
To really have a short game and a long game playing at the same time, yeah?
100%. 100%.
Fantastic. All right, Rod. Well, thanks very much for your time today. It's been
Mate, I
interesting.
appreciate it. It's been good. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Cheers.
All right. Bye-bye.